County trucking company that was looking at going over to Iowa. 20 miles down the road. $150,000 a year less in workers' comp. Take that times 10 years. Business folks take everything times 10 years. 1.5 million. That's a lot of buildings. That's a lot more trucks he could be buying and spurring the economy. What we've got, I believe, truly is like a VAT tax that these guys have put in. For example, when the farmer puts stuff in the field, all these extra regulations and everything that he's got to pay for. And then it goes from the field over to the guy that's chopping up the wheat or what have you. Then he's got all, or she's got all these regulations. And by the time it gets to the end user, you know, instead of having $4.25 25-pound bag of flour, you've got $8.50. That's a true story. Did you know? What I did was January of 2009. I took my invoice out, ran all my pizza stuff out, and you would just not believe how much the food prices have gone up in just over 3 years to today. I mean, it's amazing. Mushrooms have gone up 44%. Cheese at one point was around 30% higher. I mean, these are numbers, these are real numbers that it's basically because of all of the regulations that these guys, when you get all these regulations and paperwork and all that stuff, you got to pay somebody to take care of it. And that's a huge, huge problem.
So we need to cut some regulation. That would be a good thing.
We've been trying. We've got, in the House, we've sent tons of regulations, the REINS Act. But what happens is the Senate wants more regulation. So when we send things over, Harry Reid has this table. It's probably 3 times as long as this building. But it's got all of these jobs bills, the cutting of regulations. I mean, across the board, the budget's sitting there.
Well, up in you know where Walnut, Illinois is?
Yep.
You ever go up there? There's a little cheese factory up there. I don't know how long they've been making cheese. The guy came over from Switzerland, and he just started making cheese.
That's really good.
50 years ago. Well, the EPA came in. He doesn't make cheese anymore because of the toxic whey. You know, you ever heard, you know the same thing that Miss Muffet ate, curds and whey.
Which is the milk part of the cheese.
So they had to close the cheese factory. I'm sure they'll never make cheese in Walnut again because of that one rule. You know, they're just dumping the whey in a cornfield, which, you know, it's just the distillate of the cheese. I mean, what the hell is it going to hurt? They were trying, then they tried to put it in the hog barn and spread it like they spread manure. But the fact remains that there's no cheese made in Walnut anymore, and there never will be any cheese made in Walnut anymore. He was a small guy,
and there's
mind
a few
you.
jobs lost there too under James.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the kind of thing that really, the little guys, you know, Kraft, they'll always make cheese, but the small people, they're the ones that get killed by the regulation, not these big corporations.
Right, and that's one of the, when you look at, for example, $4 a gallon gas, a lot of our small businesses are really hurting right now. They're having to make, they're having to make decisions on, okay, when the next tax increase comes or the next piece of regulation, do we keep the doors open? Just in Moline, Illinois, I mean, we've had Denny's closed up. I mean, restaurants are off 35%.
I believe that.
You know, so what's happening is our disposable cash is being taken away from us. And that was a really good point that you had about the dollar, the value going down, and the lower it goes, the higher.
Same thing with the food, because all those commodities that are traded in a world market will continue to increase.
Yep.
Last 5 years, my inputs in my business have went up 80%. 80%.
Has your business gone up 80%?
No.
Oh,
Chance, call me. That's
I like you. You seem like a smart guy. I want to
Well,
hear why
because
you
of what
think
I do,
think.
which is
I'm
paint.
open-minded.
Okay. Follows fuel.
Nice meeting you.
Every time gas goes up, my paint goes up. Every time gas goes down, my paint never goes down.
You know, the farmers are getting blamed.
And then more regulations too.
That's petroleum based. Petroleum.
And then they throw more regulations on me, which means I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars in equipment.
The fuel to
Keep up with the
take
regs.
bread and ship the bread and
Fertilizer and
package
seed
the
are the
bread
same
and-
for farmers. Seed costs are up tremendous, you know, what they were before the markets increased naturally, and then so was fertilizer, chemicals, all the same. Everything's in soup. Everything that's petroleum based follows the price of crude, basically.
Well, you know what's interesting is people that aren't up on those issues for the farmer, they automatically assume when the corn, you know, bushel goes to $6, $7 a bushel, that they're just all, you guys are just sitting around counting
It's all
money.
profit.
Yeah.
Everybody
But,
thinks profit.
but your inputs go through the roof
Oh,
also.
right.
You know, and that's the one thing that, you know, inputs, you know, when you're out spraying the fields, you're putting as minimal amount on those fields as possible because that's an input. You know, where other folks are telling, oh no, man, they're putting it out there in 55-gallon drums. You know, that, nothing could be further from the truth. But I think the big thing that we've got to do is we've got to get the gas prices under control. And until we do that, I don't see the economy. Right now they're saying that gas prices have, you know, plateaued. They're at the top. They're at the peak, which, you know, I actually don't believe they are. I mean, I think they're going to continue to go up until we have somebody that says, look, here's what we're going to do to fix this problem, and we've yet to see that. You know, and for the seniors, you know, that's pretty scary. You know, because they're trying to decide on, you know, do I drive into town to go see the doctor, or do I go to the grocery store? You know, all these decisions are being made on gas prices. I mean, when gas prices, I did a deal where I went to the gas station, I brought my car, ran it all the way down to 12 miles left to the tank full, and I tried to fill it up, and it cut me off at $100.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow, this thing was going to take another $40. You know, and I looked over at the reporter and I said, this tank full that I just put in here, in January, when this administration took over in 09, that same $100 was $50.
Discriminatory.
You know, and what kills me is that they say, well, it's not the administration's fault. But yet when George Bush had it up around 3-something a gallon, it was all George Bush's fault. You know, but I think that there's a lot of things that can be done to help, you know, push the prices down, and they're just not being done. And a lot of people believe, even the energy secretary, Chu, you know, he says we want European prices. We want $8 a gallon, $9 a gallon. Forces you over to green energy.
You need to be in a rubber room.
Well, he doesn't have a car. That's the catch.
Man,
He
that's
doesn't
an
have.
oxymoron.
But the problem is with us folks in rural areas, that's a huge problem. You know, somebody said to me, well, why don't you get a smaller car? Well, because I've got a big family, and I put them all in. I always look at how many miles per gallon I'm getting per person. next to that Yugo, man, it's like, hey, we're doing all right here. So, but I think the one thing that we have to do, and Dick, you hit it right on the head, is we got to try to find that common ground to where we can, you know, work together, and that's what Loebsack and I did. I'm a member of what they call the Center Aisle Caucus, where we meet every once in a while, and what happens is we just share ideas. Because Republicans don't have all the ideas, and Democrats don't have all the ideas. But coming together, you know, an idea that you might give me, I might think, oh man, that's crazy. But then I might go home later on and think, you know what, that could work. But that's what's missing in D.C. is it used to be to where Democrats and Republicans used to hang out a lot, you know, and they bring their families out and they'd be friends. Those days aren't here anymore. What you have is you got leaderships that are just wanting this. You know, they just want people fighting, and then it's all about the next election versus what's good for America. And that's the one thing that definitely needs to be changed. You know, I'm one of the guys that I'm a uniter. You know, from when I was a little kid all the way up through high school. I mean, there's a reason why I was somewhat popular in high school is because I brought people together. Where's Adrian at? Did he leave?
He's just right around the corner.
Yeah. This guy right here, I'll tell you, this guy's a Democrat that works for me. I'll just let you know that right now. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. We were on a bus going to Quincy, Illinois, and I passed the microphone around, and what I said, I want to know what your name is, what you're doing on the bus. This is when we were running. It gets back to this guy, and he says, well, I'm on the bus because Bobby Schilling, this guy right here in the front. He says, because back in high school, I was one of those guys that didn't really fit in all that much, but Bobby Schilling constantly pulled me to the center, made me feel part of something. You know, but that's what we need in Washington, D.C. This divisiveness that we see, what good does it do?
You think you said it's the leadership, it's not necessarily the members.
Well, I think there's a little bit of both. Like, you're going to see a lot of, like in the election cycle, you're going to see a lot of falsehoods put forward, you know, that just aren't true about people.
No, that never happened.
Never.
Falsehoods and
Yeah, but
whatever.
But I think there's a little piece of it. I mean, there's some members out there on the other side that I just can't work with. But what you have is you got your far left, far right. It's these people here that get things done.
But your freshman class, you've got your Christy Nome and you've got West out of Florida, and you've got some pretty visible people in your freshman class that should be able to start making a difference.
Yeah,
along with yourself.
Right, and we have. I mean, when you look at the overall, what's happened. I mean, think about this for a minute. The president got an increase in the debt ceiling, which we had to do to keep our country from really faltering on all these things. But what happened was we tied strings to it to where he just didn't get, and you know,